Yeah, thank you, Yemi Ajayi, for that background report. And to discuss strategies in managing political parties, I'd like to welcome to the studio Yusuf Dantale, National Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. You are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Right, and joining us via Zoom from Kaduna, we have Kabir Mato, a professor of political science. It's a pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria, Prof.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay, good morning, Prof. Let's stay with you and let's just get your thought on this. What does it take actually to build a political party that lasts, and how do leaders keep their members from breaking ranks?
Well, thank you very much. Once again, good morning, Nigeria. I think a political party is defined as an institution, not just that it's used for attainment of political power, but also organizing members, educating members, and providing a political platform. That members within a particular political entity would sufficiently be educated, be informed, and also have a way and means of perhaps expressing their views through the various methods of interest articulation, interest aggregation, and so on and so forth. That's ideally, in theory, what a political party means. In Nigeria, from colonial periods until independence, we have also had crop of political parties, that were semblances of this. And even up till the Second Republic between 1979 and 1983, one could say comfortably that, the crop of political parties, the National Party of Nigeria, Unity Party of Nigeria, NPP, GMPP, and the rest of them were resemblances of real political party, what political party, meant. Unfortunately, since the ascendancy of this era in 1999, probably arising from the background of the first president in 1999, which was purely militaristic, the institutional political party and its integrity began to dwindle, and to such an extent that today in Nigeria, with all sense of purpose and responsibility, one will say we do not have political parties in their actual meaning. What we have today are merely political institutions that politicians use as tools and vehicles of attaining political power. I am saying this because anytime you see through the lenses of the current political parties as we have them today, you will observe that they merely provide platform that people get elected into office, and immediately they are elected, the political party is pushed to the background. And so it really does not perform the functions that it is, supposed to play. And like I said, this has its history rooted in 1999, because this didn't happen. I was an adult in 1979, and I saw what happened. We saw the way the president subordinated himself to the political party. First, Adisa Akiloye was the chairman of the ruling party, for instance. We saw how President Shagari would leave Golden Barracks and go to NPN headquarters, sit down and do a meeting, and was subordinated to the wills and aspirations of the party. NPN, UPN, NPP, all of them had their manifestos. I do not think now, as a professor of political science, I can lay my hands on any, manifesto of any of the, existing political parties, not even to talk about the 2 or 3 major political parties that we have in this country. So in summary, and as a matter of introduction, I would like to say that political parties is an institution that regulates the entire political structures and governance in any particular human society. And the absence of the relevance of political party in
Very much for your opening remarks, even though it appears we lost connection at the very end of it. But thank you very much. Let me get back here in the studio and engage Yusuf Dantale. You are national chairman of IPAC, and I'm curious, what manner of advice have you been giving political parties, that is leading to the outcomes that we see?
Thank you. I want to thank the professor. I so much agree to a greater extent the submission he made. It is not about me. It is not about you. He said something that this thing started 1999. What is he gave a very sound definition of what political party is, and that is a major ingredient of democracy. And what is democracy? Democracy is meant to be a government that is put together by the people, okay, who will be driven by the same people for their benefit. But what we have today in Nigeria seems to be a bit far from the true meaning of democracy. And then a political party as a major vehicle for this journey is tremendously injured. And how did this happen? In the past, political party is supreme. Parties determine who becomes what, how. But today, the strength of the political parties have been greatly eroded, and this strength has been handed over to a few individuals who have deeper pocket to drive the affairs of the political parties. We have, ordinarily, people are expected to, on their own, choose who they want. As a child, then, we say, okay, the community will sit together and say, this is who we want to support. They will come. Yes, there will be a few dissenting voices, but then majority of the majority voices or opinion will take precedence. But today, you have a situation where political parties belong to the executive arm of the government. For instance, you have the governor of a state who determines who procure forms, which it's mentioned all over, forms for members of the National Assembly and members of the State Assembly. Okay, he determines who become what because he financed the parties. Today, the funding of political parties is in the hands of these individuals, and these same individuals drive what happens in the party. They determines who becomes what. They determines who even becomes the national, and or the structure of the party is in the hands of these people who fund the political party.
So what have you been telling them?
No,
IPAC?
Thank you very much. What we are doing in IPAC, we ensure how can we get this thing better. We don't have the powers to do it. But what we do is to preach, to advise, to propagate. We must do what is right. Come back, bring back funding of political parties. We must strengthen political parties. We must weaken the strength of individuals. As long as this thing remains in the hands of few individuals, we can't get what we want in a democratic setting. And then with that and a few other things, that we have been advocating for, like a local government where today there's no democracy at the local level at all, and so many other issues. It is a long, but then if you look at it too, it is a holistic problem. I would say corruption, because nobody is looking at the influence of corruption in the entire system. The same way you have corruption in the civil service, the same way corruption is destroying democracy. So we must look at corruption. And recently, I must commend the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies with the support of the Mercator Foundation, who came up and began, okay, fine, we must begin to look at behavioral changes, because it is the behavior of the individual. Because even the telecoms that are supposed to benefit from the system, they prefer to sell their votes, they prefer to get money or take money and elect. So the whole thing is it is a symbiotic relationship. It's not about one person. So we must all come together as Nigerians. This is what we truly want. The telecoms must be able to sacrifice. The executive arm should be able to sacrifice. Because today, you will benefit, yes. And maybe for 8 years or for 10 years or for 12 years or 14 years. But the moment you're out of power, if you look at now, most of the people who are advocating for changes that, okay, what this current government is doing is destroying the system. Fine. let's do this, let's protest, let's change the government. Some of these persons were in the same position yesterday. They had the opportunity. But because it was serving their own interest then, nobody said anything. So the same way, those who are in government today, if you think you are benefiting or it is serving your interest, tomorrow you'll be out of power. So the circle continues to rotate. So we must learn and come together to see how can we do what will serve us as Nigeria. Let's put this country first.
How to do what will serve us best. Yes. Thank you very much for your opening remarks there, Yusuf Dantale. Thank you. We have in our studio joining us is Amsfree Ajanaku. Is the Executive Director, Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Ajanaku, you are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
And we are discussing strategies in managing political parties. And I'm sure you have listened to the two respondents earlier, Professor Mato and Yusuf. The major thing they talked about that I can pinpoint here is the internal structures of the political party, which they said is weakened, and that the executives now, they are in charge of political parties. So how do we begin to improve the internal structures of political parties to make them more relevant?
All right, thank you. I think I would like to go practical because like the other panelists have talked about, the fact that the political parties are not really serving that purpose of being the aggregate, the aggregators of the will and the aspiration of the electorate, because that's one of the primary functions of the political party, to be able to aggregate all of our individual interests and clarify it into a program and then go to the elections with that program. And so if you have political parties that are empty of content, so the political parties do not have that content of character to be able to drive the democratic process, then the kind of outcomes you are seeing today is what you'll be seeing. And of course, part of that outcome is that there is no democratic accountability. So if people, for example, want to hold the current APC accountable, on what basis would they have to hold them accountable in terms of a program? Which is why there are two roles of a political party that are really very critical. Number one is the clarifying role. That means the political party has to have the knowledge base to be able to clarify to the people that these are the things that are important to us and these are the things we are going to do when we get into government. And then there's the other critical role, which is missing completely in our current political culture, the unifying role of the political party. The unifying role is totally absent. And that's why you can have somebody come and say, I'm a member of the APC, but the APC has left me behind. I'm a member of the PDP, but the PDP... So the political party also plays that role of unifying the different interests. And you can only unify when you have a program around which you agree. If ab initio you do not have a program, a political program around which you agree as political parties, then everybody will be going in different direction. And so this is what we are seeing in our system today. And so that is why I believe that, and this has been done in this country before. In the days of the UPN, in the days of the Action Group, the political parties actually had research bureau. The research bureau of the political party was meant to be the knowledge production arm of the political party. But today, what do we see? There's no knowledge production. The basis on which the party is supposed to engage the people is not there. And so it is just about, getting to power at all costs. And that's why you can see that in place of campaigning around issues during the elections, what do political parties budget for? They budget for vote buying. They budget on how to compromise the electoral umpire. They budget on how to spread fake news and how to, spread disinformation. So it is high time there's a shift. And I'm glad that IPAC has talked about, some of the things it is doing, in terms of moral suasion, preaching, and all of that. But the question of party discipline is also critical. How do you ensure that in the party playing its role as a unifying factor, it is able to hold people in line with the party programs? And if that is not there, we can talk from now to tomorrow. The parties will not be able to deliver on that function that the Constitution and also the Electoral Act has given to them. So these, I believe, are very critical issues in terms of building a strategy that would, bring about our political parties.
Works.
Yeah.
All right, Tamsri Ajanaku, thank you very much. Let's get back to Professor Kabir Matu, who is joining us from Kaduna. Now, Prof, I know that one of the biggest challenges that political parties have are, individual interests. Now, with so many competing interests within a party, how does the political party strike the right balance to ensure that the party keeps running and on the right pedestal?
That is simple. That's possible if the political parties will run on the basis of fairness. One of the definitions of politics is that it is a reconciliation of interest. It means, therefore, that people of different views, ideologies, and perhaps perceptions normally surrender some of this and come together to form a political party. And so for that political party to function effectively, it's incumbent on it to ensure that there is a minimum, level playing ground and rules and regulations that will guide the conduct of its members. So party discipline is really very important. The problem we are facing as a nation today is that it appears that there is capture of the political institution. Capture of the political institutions by those who benefit, by those who rise to political power through the instrumentality of the political parties. It means, therefore, that once you accede to a particular political position, then you begin to dictate the pattern of that party on the basis of your individual wishes and aspirations rather than what you have as a common good. A political party is supposed to be an institution, that contains the common good of all its members. Yes, the central aspiration there should be to contest and win political power. That's basically the central aspiration. But then along with it, before you're able to do that, just like my other colleagues have mentioned, there are other very serious, important functions that parties are expected to play. And then in our climate, these political parties don't seem to be playing these roles and responsibilities, and they are hijacked, by the few individuals. I give you an example. In the First Republic, in the Second Republic, most of the political parties in this country were actually financed by the membership. The People's Redemption Party is one. The Unity Party of Nigeria is another. The Nigeria People's Party. These were political parties that were funded by the list of their membership. And I ask you today that we woke up one morning in Nigeria and a president decided that, a membership of the entire political party that was in government, was dissolved and a new registration had to begin. Now, it tells you the mechanicality in which the Nigerian ruling class have unfortunately reduced the importance and efficacy of the political party as an institution of regulating the conduct of behaviors of both leaders and members of that particular institution. And so if you are faced with that crisis, now what is eminent and what you get is the kind of result that you get today. You have political parties that don't meet. You have political parties in government that do not respect even the instrumentality. Leaders of political parties are now errand boys of those who are in positions of authority at both the center and at state level. So this in my view, is a major issue.
I still want to stay with you. I wanted to speak more on how we can actually strengthen the internal structures of the political parties, because from what you have said, it's like the executives have taken over the political parties because the internal structures are already weakened. You said earlier on that in the Second Republic, the political parties were stronger and they were respected. So what can be done now to strengthen the weakened internal structure. He mentioned that they should have programs, and also they should have a unifying role that political party plays. From you are a political analyst and a professor of political science. How can we strengthen the internal structures of political parties?
Sides to it. One side is either for the leadership, which in my view is the easiest way to go, for the political leadership in each of the political parties to subordinate itself to the wishes and aspirations of the members of that political party. That is one. By respecting the rules and regulations of the party, by respecting, the internal democratic, procedures within the party, and importantly also agreeing to abide by the manifesto, the intents and the intentions which the party, promises to deliver to Nigeria. That is one dimension. So the change can come from the top. That is from the leadership of these political parties and from those who are in government. Those who are in government should desist from annexing political parties to be a particular, a particular wing in their governments, both at the state, in fact, both from local government, state, to federal level. That's one major crisis. The second way out of it, which may be long run and may be very revolutionary for members of the political party to continue to insist, and force change down the throat of the leadership of the party. If that is done, and somebody was talking about, the merchandization of Nigerian politics, whereby the common people who prefer to take 500 naira and give you their votes because they will tell you that if we vote for you, we will not see you again until the next election. Yes, there is poverty in the land. Yes, there is disaffection. Yes, there are a lot of issues on ground. And it is true that our political elites are very, very undemocratic, unfair, and unjust, to the majority of the people and the political enterprise itself. But I think the most important thing is that these changes that we need in Nigeria's political parties must necessarily have their roots from within the political parties. The parties have to reorient themselves. They have to agree that they are not just mere vehicles that people can ride through to attain political power. Much more than that. They are institutions of character, culture, and political association that are expected to provide the guidelines, ways and means, and even educating people on what ought to be done. That's the only time that you will hear Nigerians talking about elections on the basis of, not on the basis of religion, region, or so on and so forth. Even in as much as I believe that these are obvious, realities that we cannot do away with. They are there everywhere, some of that. But our political party formation is tragically adulterated by the key players. It's not the common man on the street. Actually, there is responsible. Or the ordinary party member, no. He is loyal, she is loyal, she continues to, and he continues to, believe in what the political party is done. But the manipulation is actually from the top level. A situation where both the PDP, for instance, and the APC, and we can see now even the Labour Party, are unable to meet as an entity to decide or to review their activities in the areas of political influence. I think this spells a lot of danger and disaster for the entire democratic enterprise. And I'm not surprised that a lot of politicians, whether they were in power yesterday or they were not, accusing their political parties of, running away and leaving them behind. This shouldn't be the actual problem. Members, no matter their sizes, members, no matter their positions in government, must subordinate themselves to the leadership of the political parties. And the leadership of the political parties will also have to make this conscious effort to know that they are supposed to direct the governments that are elected under their platforms, not vice versa. But they will not do that because they are mainly funded, like I said, by the governments. This is not what's happening. This is not what you get virtually, in every serene political atmosphere. So we need to change. And if we don't change, I am also of the view that we are putting the democratic enterprise at a great risk, because you cannot have democracy under the Western liberal conception without political parties. And then democracy within political parties is what informs democracy at local and national levels. If you don't have internal democracy in the political party, then it is not likely that you are going to have free, fair, and credible elections, because people there are contested elections, will not respect the views of the people. And that's why our elections have become a matter of life and death in Nigeria. And we have to change this. If we don't change this, I assure you we are going to bequeath a legacy that will be unfortunate to the generation that, are yet unborn.
Professor Mato, thank you very much. What I see is a political party system that seems to have lost its way. And that's why I'll be asking Yusuf Dantale, how do we get it right? Because you find party conventions and conferences that make, very big headlines. And for what? Just for, the razzmatazz, instead of being an avenue to draw policies, to debate, the way forward and all of it. All you just see is just a razzmatazz and no substance, little or no substance. So is it that it is the wrong individuals running parties, or there's something fundamentally wrong in the foundations of the political parties? Because when party members begin to say, okay, we want a piece of the action, we want contracts, we want appointments, and then you can't distinguish between the party and political office holders.
Thank you. Before I respond to you, I want to correct an impression by my friend when he said the parties are empty. With you, the parties are not empty. The parties are also victims of the system, or the party managers are victims of the system. And one of the major things, and you said people buy votes because these votes count. If the votes don't count, people won't, the ones that are paying for the votes will not pay. So that means we have a solution because we already know what the problems are. One of the major things that we have been speaking against, and we need a very good legislation to that effect, is cross-carpeting. Now people, members of a political party, will struggle to elect, or the electorates will elect someone to represent them in their interests. At the end of the day, the man gets up there and then somehow he moved from the party, and then he will leave the party just like that, and the party have nothing to do. So if we have a legislation that if you win election on the platform of a political party, if you are leaving that party, you must leave that party with what belongs to the party, because you won on the platform of that party. Because we have flimsy excuses, people. The Constitution is very clear that, okay, until there is a problem or there's a faction at the national level, you and I will agree that most of 90% or 90-100% of the defection or the cross-carpeting that happen in Nigeria have nothing to do with the crisis in the party, but for selfish interests of the individuals that go.
But it's already in the Constitution. So why is it difficult to
that is why I say this is a systemic problem. We have the judiciary that is meant to interpret the law. Somehow, the judiciary is also handicapped.
Why?
You are aware that IPAC held our first roundtable was on the role of the judiciary last year, on the role of judiciary in deepening democracy. Whatever you can or you want to do, the moment the judiciary make pronouncement, it stands. So we have to look at the respective, it's a systemic problem.
Why do you say the judiciary is handicapped?
That is what it is for the judiciary to say. You have seen so many places, so many times in this course, most of the judgments that we have that have no justice. So we need, until we all agree that as Nigerians, we must do what is right. Well, today, Labour Party, there was an OB. A lot of people came, but if you can see that most of them are no longer there. And the other political parties like that, they move the way they want, and nothing happens.
So how can this be?
This same country, a member of the House of Reps, recently did something to an Uber driver, and he said, I can make you disappear. You understand? Because he believed that nothing will happen to him. So many people have threatened, okay, we'll do what we want. And they'll tell you go to court. Because it is believed that if you go to court, you can have your way. So all these things we need to look at it until we have that legislation. You know, but political parties we have very good managers of political parties, very clean men who are not ready to compromise their integrity. But for some of those ones, those who want to circumvent the system will not even come to the party in the first place.
Now, many tie this whole thing to money, to finance. For instance, you talk about the judiciary. I know that when we have had cause to discuss the judiciary, people will tell you, well, the funding of the judiciary has to be independently funded so that it can truly be independent and on its own. Political parties, how is the financing of political parties that it is unable, to stand its grounds on issues, to do what it is supposed to do as an entity? Or is it just the greed of those who run political parties?
Yeah, before the 1999, before the advent of this democratic dispensation, that we have parties at the mercy of those who have the money to fund the parties. Let me give you in the last election, 2023 general election, we have two political parties emerged very strongly. And what are these parties? Labour Party and NPP. And how did they manage to get the fame and prominence? Because one individual who was a former governor moved into a Labour Party, and he was able to. In NNPP, we have one individual who was a former governor, who was a former senator, who was came into the party. So you now see that these things are built around individual. Not about ideologies, but those who can, because these people have the wherewithal to drive the financial needs of the party. So if we are able to restore funding of political party, not necessarily giving party money, cash to the political parties as is in the past, but to sponsor some of the programs of our political party, like their primary election, for instance.
What do the books say about how political parties should generate income?
The books what the books say is simple for our individual membership contribution, but how many individuals are paying their dues in the political parties? Even those who have who are in the structure of the party or the management of the party find it difficult to even pay their own. So, and even at that, if you look at what we do, what you spend to get these things done, what you generate as a membership due is nothing compared to what is required to manage political parties. So the system, they are two poles apart. We must restore our funding of political parties. But such funds must be judiciously utilized. INEC is mandated to audit accounts of political parties intermittently. So if INEC is auditing accounts of political parties, so why is it difficult for us to restore some of these things? So INEC can oversee as their oversight function to see how is this fund utilized. But as long as we have parties at the mercy of whoever have the deep pocket, you have one part. There are situations where you have this party, the members or the leaders of this party is one person that is putting there because he has the funds to manage. So it is a very bad situation that we need to be sincere. So more political party leaders, they are also victims of the system.
Okay.
So we must sanitize this thing, but we need the enabling laws.
But the laws are there.
But who interprets the law?
Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Yusuf. Let's come to arms free now. I mean, we're looking at strategies in managing political parties, and so many issues have been thrown up now. And earlier on, you talked about the need for the political parties to have clear programs and also to be able to unify their members. Now, what strategies do you think the parties actually need to clarify their vision and also their values to communicate them effectively, to the populace? Because in the last election in 2003, just like he mentioned, just one person, joined Labour Party and turned that party's fortune around because of his programs and his vision. So how do we begin to clarify that?
Yes, I think the scenarios that we have painted actually point to the serious democratic deficits that we have within the political parties. And I'm glad my colleague has actually pushed the button a little in terms of coming to terms with the fact that the political parties have to do better. And the fact that he also talked about some of the political party managers being victims. But in my own view, I think they are victims with some sort of power, but they have not really exerted that power or exercised that power in terms of being able to deepen reform within the parties. If you look at the issue of funding, for example, which is, what everybody believes is one of the Achilles heels of the political parties. The question of funding, what does it take? Even individuals at our level as organizations, we even do what we call crowdfunding. And so if a political party comes up with a compelling program based on the issues that the people at the grassroots and the people all over the country are facing, and say, we are using this program as our bond with the people, and we need the funding to be able to drive elections or drive the campaigns around this program in order to be able to win on this particular platform, then you are definitely going to be seeing people rallying around, those programs. That is why I still insist that the parties are empty in terms of content of character, content and character. Because as it stands today, we cannot even make any clear distinction between what the programs of the ruling party are and what the programs of even the opposition party would be. And so if I as a voter or somebody at the grassroots level, I'm seeing political parties and I cannot see any fundamental difference between all of them, then of course it will be a question that would encourage even voter apathy. I would not see the difference between party A. I cannot see the difference between party B, party C.
Okay.
And so this is one of the areas in which I believe that the managers of the party should do better. They should do research. They should go back to the grassroots and have town hall engagement, have engagement with the constituency. Because ordinarily, the political party is supposed to even be that bridge between the political office holder and the voters at the level of the electorate, to make that connection, to say, okay, this is what you have promised to the voters. And we as a party, we are like the sheriff that should insist that you should be able to deliver this so that our party becomes relevant in the next election in the spirit of democratic accountability. But if you have a situation in which there's that gulf, there's that distance, and it results in voter apathy, the political party, what they then do is they find other ways to, to create that, they try to say, okay, let's buy up the vote and things like that, because they do not want to do the right things, which is what I believe. Then the other point about the strategies, some of the strategies.
Okay.
I think until we have financial accountability within the political parties also, we may not be able to talk about even the democratic accountability itself. So the kind of opaqueness within which parties are run, the fact that even a lot of the members don't even know how even if you say it's individuals that are bringing in the funds, do members get to see? Because those funds are supposed to be like the individual donated it to the party. Yes, he that pays the piper dictates the tune, but it is still part of the role of the managers of the party to now say, yes, you've donated this money to us as a party, but we still have within the spirit of accountability to be able to tell our members, this is where the campaign expenses, these are the things we focused on. That can even be a basis to encourage. There's nothing wrong about individuals supporting, because definitely, in terms of financial ability, it's not all equal within a party. But at least I believe that the members should be able, and one political party came up with the idea that it has 15 million members. If just one member is able to pay 1,000 naira a year, which is within the ability of many of the members of this political party, they'll be able to raise a huge quantum of fund that no money back. Yes. If truly they have 50 million members, but of course, that was just a projection. Okay. That was just a projection they were making. Right. So I think that if they are saying we should go back to membership funding, I accept it wholeheartedly. But that process of driving it, the process of crystallizing the ideas that will drive that membership is what the managers of the party should do. And they should not just throw up their hands in the air and say, oh, it's only money, the big political money bags that can come and fund our party. So a lot of innovative thinking, and especially with technology today, you can capture your membership registration. You can do online, party registration. And if people believe in your programs and you market your programs properly, people will support it with their funding, and you can then have the funding to do the basic things you want to do as a political party. But this kind of situation in which one man will just come, buy up everything during the primaries, he will share money, and then he determines everything. It's not like the professor said, and like even IPAC itself has said, it's not really good for our democracy. And then the final point I want to make is the role of grassroots democracy in terms of building the parties. He has rightly also made a point about the fact that in our local government areas, there's no democracy. And I believe that one of the legacies of the Bola Tinubu administration is the fact that he's pushing for this local government reform. And the judiciary has helped in that, insisting now that there will be democracy at the grassroots level. So that nursery bed of democracy has to be exploited by the political parties. The parties should be able to go into the local government and identify who are the young people, who are the women, who are the people with disabilities that can come into our party and bring in value. So this whole top-down approach has to change. It has to now come to the grassroots so that you can now have a truly democratic system, not a system in which a few people just ride roughshod on every other person.
We talked about the issue of qualities, and you said most of our political leaders they lack qualities. So is it through the research that you build the qualities, or what strategy do you think would be effective or essential for political parties to be able to build the right qualities in their leadership?
Yes, so Nigeria is about one of the few places I know where leadership just happen to people, or people happen to leadership. Leadership actually should be a process in which someone is cultivated to go and rise through a process. And if you have that kind of system, you don't have people just jumping out of line and then, challenging a political party has constituted, they talk about the programs and all of that. So one way that will be done, because I ask myself, when the parties meet, the parties are, in some cases, and we still have some instances in this. I remember when I was in Lagos, parties meet every other weekend. What do they discuss at those parties? There should be knowledge-building sessions in which people will imbibe that culture of debate, in which they can, push ideas on each other, debate ideas, what should be the direction. And that's the process through which you organically build people to know that, okay, our party stands for A, B, C, D, E. Our party does not stand for this. If, for example, you're talking about job creation, the party, through those channels, can generate ideas, and the ideas become organic. And that is part of what will make the party member committed to the party, and not a situation in which it's just around elections. People move into parties, they move out. Then another election cycle. In fact, someone described the current discussion in the polity right now as emergency political activism, because right from when this current administration came into place, where you expected that the opposition political parties will be able to match the ruling party idea for idea, disagreement for disagreement, even sometimes controversy over the key issues of governance. Those things are important for mobilizing the people towards the next election. But what I've seen so far is that they've waited for almost the midpoint of the government to now suddenly realize that, this government is not on the right track. And then how do you get the people to see the sincerity of purpose in that? So these are some of the key issues.
Great. You've made some points regarding membership of political parties, and I'm wondering, what it is that we are not doing right. I'll direct my next question to Professor Kabir Mato. What is it that we are not doing right in our political party system with regards to membership. For instance, elsewhere, you have membership cut across all strata of society. You have students who are membership. Of course, the students are not expecting that, after putting in some work that they immediately get appointments. But here, what you find is that the least person wants to get some immediate benefits. Once election is over and they win, wants immediate benefits. If not, well, they look elsewhere. What is it that we are not doing right with regards to membership drive? How can we bring more people who believe in, the party ideology, the party principles, who will work just for work's sake because they believe in these principles?
I think the function of membership recruitment lies strictly with the political parties. So if you have a docile membership, I think it's a function of the weakness and failures of the political party itself. So for us to be able to get that right, I think it's important that the parties themselves attempt a reorientation, like I said earlier on. This reorientation has to come either from within, or from without, from either inside of the political party or outside of the political party. And I think what the politicians and those in government don't seem to understand is that the dangers that lie ahead arising from the manipulation of the political process are so enormous that by the time the bubble will burst, it will have very serious consequences on the entire democratic project that the nation carries out. So it's incumbent on the political party leadership, on one hand, to ensure that what is right is done. And on the other hand, it's also incumbent on the elites within the political parties. And probably that's why we see some of the agitations that are arising from both the APC, PDP, and even Labour Party, and even the NN.
All right. Unfortunately, we've lost connection to Professor Kabir Matu there. We will get back to him, but let me take the same question to Yusuf Dantale. And like I asked Professor Matu, what are we not doing right and what needs to be better done so that you can get the buy-in of people across all sectors of society, across all strata, across, whatever level that you want to find in society?
When my friends say the political party have 15 million members and 15 million were 1,000, I laughed. We're in a society where a tanker that's loaded with petroleum falls, and even at the risk of people's lives, they still go to scoop fuel and they still die. So others are still coming to take it. That tells the level of poverty. We're in a situation where a vehicle with trucks with rice or indomie will fall down, and instead of saving the lives of the people, there are people prefer to pack those things with sands. Recently, late last year, we have a situation where stampede in the course of getting rice that is not up to 1 bag, Nigerians died across the board. That should tell you. And you are talking of 1,000 for 15 million Nigerians. It is it's a very funny. I still repeat, managers of political parties, to a greater extent, are victims of the situation. You look at from here to maybe to.
Is it not self-made, victims?
It is not. It is not. You see, the laws, until those who win election on the platform of political parties are made to see that they owe their allegiance to the political parties, that you cannot just move out of that party after winning election, that there is punishment, there is repercussion for leaving that party. Those who win election on the platform of political parties see themselves as superior species of politicians and the political party. That the party cannot do me anything. I do what I want. This is what is happening. And that is why I will continue to say the law, the judicial arm of the government, the system. People will, if not, what will it take to have a social contract with the people? It happened. Former President Muhammadu Buhari, people, tomato sellers, onion sellers. We have seen videos of a woman who brought out her all her savings to keep. But what's the outcome? What's the outcome? So until we have repercussion, there is punishment for actions that those who win election are not superior or do not see themselves as untouchables, we cannot do anything.
Why does it seem that political parties are not able to go to court and pursue it, test the law up to the Supreme Court, so that if the Supreme Court determines, it becomes the standard? Why are they reluctant? Because I see most of them, the best you have is that they go to the court of first instance, and after that, you know, everybody is just like...
With due respect to the judiciary, there are very good ones, very sound ones who have got some sound judgment, but we have seen in the larger part that most judgment without justice, that do not represent the facts on ground.
That's why I
but
said, why
because
not test it?
You are a Nigerian, you have seen this happen. I don't want to mention names or incidents or particular incidents, but IPAC took a decision that our first roundtable will be on the role of judiciary. And thanks to the current Chief Justice of the Federation, with the National Judicial Commission, some 20-something or so members of the bench were sent for prosecution or something. Okay, were being investigated, and one form of punishment or the other. But we still need more of this. You have seen where judicial officers will make different pronouncements on one issue. Court A and Court B, with equal judicial status, will make pronouncement on something different. The same thing will go, and it goes on like that. The judiciary must save this democracy. But somehow, to a greater extent, it is still a system problem. We must kill corruption before corruption destroys Nigeria. It is not easy, as you are saying, my brother. You understand? So I will welcome you to one of the... Come to my party and then come and you see how easy it is to see from outside, but when you come in, it is not the same thing.
Yeah, this is why we also talk about innovation.
Yeah.
And, we talk about ideas that could be tried. Of course,
we'll talk about the innovation and the ideas when we come back from this break. We'll take a break now. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our discussion is still on strategies in managing political parties. And we still have our guest in the studio who have been discussing. We've been having a robust discussion on this issue. Now, Amsfree, before we went on the break, you were going to talk about the innovation that is necessary to deepen the political parties in the country. Well, can we have your thought now?
Yes. So along the line, I also got the feedback of it's easier said than done. But of course, if you want to move from a point to a better point, you have to also explore ideas that actually sync with what's the best practice across the world. And I say that because we have a situation within our political culture in which the political parties have left an important demographic behind, talking about the youth demographic. And so what you have currently, you have youth wings of political parties that really do not capture the full gamut of young people that want to also participate in the political process, which is why I believe that it will be one of the marks of innovation if the political parties can have a way of using technology to reach out to this younger demographic. But they cannot do that without going back to what we discussed earlier, if there is no attractive program around which you want to get that attraction of bringing young people and all of that. And that's why I still talked about the issue of the local government reforms ongoing now. The fact that at least, even though you still have in most cases, one party winning most of the seats in the local government, but at least it's a starting point. We can continue to interrogate that, continue to push for transparency, and open up the space for fresher voices to come into our politics, so that our politics is not just dominated by elders alone. You can also have younger elements also seeking and aspiring for. I think the Tinubu administration is planning a youth confab very soon. These are some of the issues that I believe youth leaders should take to that confab. The question of political participation, the question of ensuring that there's not that exclusion.
But that played a major role in the last election, 2023 in particular. The use of the social media and other digital tools were used effectively the last election. So how can political parties now begin to build on that?
Yes, absolutely. That's a model. But like we are seeing, that had one aspect of a lot of young people coming into the political process, but encountering some challenges in the process around the electoral process itself. You also have now a situation in which a lot of young persons have said, "Oh, we tried in 2023, it didn't work out, so we're not trying anymore." So this is where I believe, beyond the Labour Party, which we saw that phenomenon with, other political parties that are really serious about coming out to get a foot in the door in terms of the political space, they should be able to also leverage on those innovations. Issues around things like crowdfunding. We saw a lot of crowdfunding, but one aspect I would also like to interrogate, maybe through research, through my organization research and all of that, is to also look at the level of accountability in the context of the crowdfunding we saw. Because we also had cases in which there were controversies about how monies were spent and all of that. So sometimes...
And also who the lead.
Exactly. So sometimes it's not just about achieving the goal itself, but ensuring that the goal is sustainable. Okay. So I think those innovative strategies, and I believe membership drive, social media should be used by the political parties to do a lot more membership drive, but they have to be able to have a compelling program that captures and fires the imagination of the young people. If that is not there, then of course, people will not really be attracted to the parties, and they will not, participate. And if they don't participate, the same apathy we are seeing in our voting process, the decline in democratic participation would be the case. And I believe as we head towards even 2027 and also the other elections before 2027, this should be part of the innovative strategies that the parties can adopt, and then use that to deepen participation in the process.
All right. Thank you very much, Amsri Ajanaku. I understand that Professor Kabir Mato is back with us. Prof, I would like to ask, beyond winning elections, what makes a political party's message, truly resonate with the people, such that they get attached and are willing, to ride or die with that political party, as a manner of speaking, by the way?
Thank you very much. That does not exist in Nigeria today. That used to be the case, in the Second Republic and in the First Republic. But today, with the monetization of the political space, it's impossible for any young person or member of a political party, to believe in ideology and the spirit of, political parties. What's happening actually is that, a lot of leaders deploy resources or the use of money, and thereby every member of the political party is invariably scrambling for his or her own share of the cake, knowing fully that soon after the election, it becomes a different thing. They will not see those who are elected until the next time elections are coming. So this is the greatest problem that I think we are facing at the moment. And for the Nigerian political party system and polity generally to be sanitized, it will require the active participation of virtually every member of the society. But at the heart of the problem, I think, is those who are elected on the platform of political parties to represent constituencies at various levels of governance and administration in Nigeria. Now, this interloping idea of, using state resources, ill-gotten wealth and what have you from, the problem is that we have so internalized corruption to become part of our cultural ethics today. In most Nigerians' cultures now, the line between corruption and the lack of corruption is so thin that people don't mind as long as they are going to get access to resources. Ways and means of getting access to resources is not important. In a scenario like that, a situation like that, the political enterprise becomes severely impaired, and therefore the result is what we are getting out of this today. Now, I am saying for us to get out of this, the various representatives at various levels of government, the federal government, maybe the president and members of his cabinet, governors and members of their cabinets, and even local government chairmen that the current administration is trying to put as a democratic entity within the Nigerian nation space, must realize that politics is all about service. And the political party is about getting together citizens that will agree on the principles and ideologies that you believe in. What is happening today is that, so many things are happening. Is it about regionalism? Is it about ethnicity? Is it about, not about any coherent ideological underpinnings that will bring development to your doorstep? You are just interested in who is going to be there. Does he speak my language? Should we go to the same church? 2023 is, still too early for us to forget about, the religious debacle that took over the entire Nigerian political space. Is it a Muslim ticket? Is it a Christian ticket? In 1979, for God's sake, Chief Obafemi only appeared with.
Wow, we have that challenge again. Okay, all right. So let's come back to the studio. And Yusuf, I want to ask just like professors just said now, that politics is all about service, but you find out that in most cases, a lot of politicians, the jettisons, the values, and also the principles of the party just because they just want to win the election by all means. So what strategy or how can, political parties balance the need to win elections with the need to maintain their values and principles?
It is members, human beings that drives political parties. I said something earlier that those who win election after emergence, they see themselves as superior members of the party, that the laws no longer applies to them while they are there and they can't circumvent anything. But I want to appeal to our conscience, the leaders of Nigeria, to look at Nigeria. That are we doing what we yesterday? Let me just digress a bit. Yesterday I was watching something on social media. There's a village, and that village, one is about 50 kilometers from Daura, the home of the immediate past president, and people have to walk kilometers to go and fetch water that is not drinkable. I saw it yesterday. And how they go to get water, 50 kilometers, just within. So we should begin to look at, it is the position we occupy today. Is it reflecting on the life of the people we chose to lead? Because if you are able to circumvent the judgment of man, you can't circumvent the judgment of God. We belong to either Islamic religion or Christianity in this part of the world.
Or traditionalists.
And for all this religion, we believe that there's judgment after now. What do we really want? Those who become famous in human history, do they become famous on the basis of the number or the volume of properties or financial position they occupy? The answer is no. But the lives they touched while they were there. We must begin to look at what we do today. To speak truth to ourselves, to speak truth to power. You say the truth, you will die. You don't say the truth, you will die. You do what is right, you will die. You don't do what is right, how long are we living on earth? It is, I think, this we should begin to do ourselves serious introspection. Nigeria is bleeding. Nigerians are suffering. We need to begin to look at what. For those in the judiciary, yes, you are called my Lord. So if you are called my Lord, that name is not common. That what you say must not be argued by the person you deliver that judgment upon. So you have to look at yourself. Is there any judgment after my own judgment? So we should begin to look at this to fix this country. We are expected to see that we have a better side. Today we are being embarrassed as Nigerians or Africans in the United States that Donald Trump emerged and then is telling that they are deporting people because. Now we are leaders. We are ministers of education, of health, of defense, of commerce, of road. The schools that we administer, are we able to send our children to these schools? The health system that we administer, are we able to attend or send our family members to this system? The roads that we administer, are we able to apply it effectively? The security, even the military, we should begin to look at the insecurity. Most of our farmers in the village have been. The people who are, those who are in this banditry or Boko Haramism or whatever, most of them are, even though we see that the hands of foreign influence in this, but they are still our brothers. Why are they susceptible to this? Because most of our own brothers live hopeless life. Okay, if I can't, if the system doesn't, let me just do it. You look at Robert Martin's theory of anomie, how people react to social situations in 5 ways, that some conform, some innovate, some retreat, some ritualize, and some rebel against the system. We have to look inward. We have all the solutions to this problem. It is painful. It is difficult to do the right thing, but we can. We have no country to call our own other than this.
Indeed, we have no country to call our own. We're gradually rounding off this conversation, but let me get to arms free very briefly. If we are talking about political parties, prioritizing the people, how then should they engage with those at the grassroots and hard to reach areas? Of course, it's one thing to engage with people in cities. How should they engage with people at the hinterlands and hard to reach areas?
Absolutely. I believe that the ward structure in our local government offers, like a very important political platform for organizing and for sharing ideas and for playing that important role of the political parties, which is educating and also enlightening the people at the grassroots around programs and policies that the party intends to pursue, right from the local government to the state, and even talk about the legislature and also to the presidential level. So that nursery bed, I insist, is a key aspect of the work that political parties have to do. Because if you don't nurture democracy at the nursery bed level, you would not have Democrats who have passed through that process of both political education, political orientation, to be able to now carry the banner to the next level of governance. And that's why you see that in Nigeria's democracy, we have democracy without so many Democrats. We have very few Democrats, and the rest are just power seekers or power mongers. And this is why our democracy faces the kind of challenges, and that's why people would not accept an election defeat, because probably in their lifetime, even at the ward level, at the smaller level, they've never come to terms with what it means to either win or lose an election. And so these kinds of ideas have to be inculcated right from the nursery bed before people grow into the bigger positions of governance.
Okay, thank you very much, Hamstring. Let's go to Professor Mato now. And as we round up, I just want you to tell us, some of the takeaways from this conversation this morning that you think the political parties, officials should, hold on to in, sustaining the political parties in the country?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing is that the political parties must attempt to revive the structures of their political parties, right at what level, to local government level, to state level, to national level. What they need to do here is that there should be constant touch, constant meeting. You are talking about how does a political party reach its members in the hinterland? Now, that's possible. It was done before when communication was even at a very low state. Members of parties met at a village level, ward level, local government, district level, local government level, state level, and the national level. So what the contemporary political parties need to do is to ensure that they revive these structures. And the only way these structures can be revived is by showing example right at the level of the center. At the federal level, the political parties must be able to reinvigorate their routine meetings, National Working Committee meetings, National Executive Committee meetings, caucuses of the parties, and periodic conventions to discuss issues. In the Second Republic, there was what, the PRP used to call lecture. Lecture was simply a political event that used to ginger the followership of the People's Redemption Party. Mala Aminu Kano will simply visit a community and organize a lecture and educate the people, and get their buy-in on what not necessarily Kano or Kaduna state governments were doing at that time, but even what the President Shagali administration in Lagos was doing. That's essential. A situation where the PDP has not been able to do its National Executive Committee meeting, where the APC, we understand, has not been able to call any such meetings from the time they won election to date, I think is unhealthy. And what happens at the center is what's going to normally trickle down to the states and to the local government level. And the implication is that you're going to have disaffection, you're going to have, a lot of problems, in harmonizing the political entity within your establishment. So political leadership at the top, because like MKO Abiola will always say, the society is like the fish. Once the head is rotten, then you cannot eat the rest of the body. And so that's precisely what is happening. The parties are dead at the center. Once elections are fought and won, then the instrumentality of political parties is left and left. Recently, President Tinubu appointed the chairman of his party, the secretary of his party, the youth leader of his party, as chairman of federal government boards and parastatals. This is unheard of. We've not heard of this in a very long time. It didn't happen in the Second Republic. It didn't happen in the First Republic. I don't know why the political system should continue to degenerate, and get lower and lower and lower by the day. We must revive it. And for us to revive it, I think it's important that the leadership at the top must take deliberate decision to do just that. Failure to do that, it endangers the entire Nigeria's political space, and that's unfortunate.
Endangers the entire Nigerian political space. Professor Kabir Mato, Professor of Political Science, always a pleasure having you join us on the conversation. Thank you for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, let me also thank Amsfree Ajanaku, Executive Director, Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you.
And finally, let me thank Yusuf Dantale, National Chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Thank you for the perspectives that you have brought into our conversation this morning. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that's good.